The new year is only a few weeks away, and I want to dedicate this episode to explaining to you what the energy of next year is going to be like. Within my Facebook group, I'm hosting the 2022 prep series, and within that, I'm doing several workshops and I've invited several experts. But this episode, I just want to give you an insight of what the energy will be like next year. Because the past 2 years have been very unexpected, lots of things have happened, and I just want to set you up so that you have the right expectations going into next year. Welcome to the Astrology as a Strategy podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Panassi. I'm on a mission to help you amplify your influence so you can free up time to spend with your family while increasing your revenue. I'm an astrologer, business mentor, an adventure seeker, and a proud mama of 3 kids. Think of this podcast as your shortcut to more joy and ease in your business. Running a business is joyful, and when you're not having fun, you haven't cracked the code yet, but that's about to change. I share practical and short tools how to use astrology in your business and life. So let's get started on using your energy strategically to make a bigger impact, have more free time, and grow your wealth. For me, the energy is very much around making space. So especially the energy that we're in right now, we have the intensity of the Saturn-Uranus square. We had Mars and Mercury squaring and opposing Saturn and Uranus, and that has been quite intense. And we have just entered eclipse season, so we kind of layered a layer upon a layer upon a layer upon a layer of intensity. But to be honest with you, and I want you to be honest with yourself, when you look at how you are doing things, when you look at the structures around you, not from yourself, but also from society, on a government level, what are your feelings when you think about that? And really be honest right now. Don't think about it like, oh, it's been going like this, so it's okay. This is a time to evaluate those things. And with the eclipse portal, it's an initiation for change, even separate from the Uranus changes and shifts that Uranus wants to push upon us, or just does. It's not even pushing upon us, it just changes. But the eclipse, if you just treat it as such, it is going to initiate change, because once we have exited the eclipse portal or vortex even, we come out differently. And the eclipse season lasts until December 4th when we have the solar eclipse. But I want you to think about this as the initiation, as the change, as the acceleration of it. And the reason why I'm starting with this, not jumping into 2022, is because this is really the jumping board from which we jump into 2022. I know a lot of people are dealing with anxiety, with fear, with lots of pressure. I don't think I've ever received this many messages from people who are commenting on my posts, but also sending me personal messages. Because it's universal. Like, everybody is going through this. Everybody is feeling the pressure. I even have people mentioning that the actual bones hurt, that there's pressure on their bones, which makes a lot of sense because Saturn rules our structure, our bones. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, it's just so much, know that you're not alone, because there's a lot going on. And at the same time, this is also what creates space for something greater. Because right now we're still in the crumbling phase. And next year we are going to go through the crumbling just a little bit longer. We're not completely out of the woods just yet. But this helps us to initiate that change. Because if everything always stays the same, if we just continue on our lives, if we continue on with the structures and systems that we have, then nothing is ever going to change. Look at your business. You are going to come out of this eclipse season differently. You're going to look at your at your business differently. And that's a good thing, because I want you to think about it critically. Like, how do you want to bring your business into the next year? What are the things that are really important to you and to your business? Because we are in a time where we really cannot trust the old navigation systems that we've been using. We have relied on outside sources for so long. And I mean this in a literal sense, where we have been putting our power, our health, our sovereignty in the hands of the bigger picture of the people that are ruling us, ruling the country, even though, we don't have the strict rulership as we had in the past, where there was a lord who would rule over his citizens. But we still have governments deciding what happens. Also, if you look at food supply, like, we depend so much on outside resources that we have forgotten how to grow our own food. Also, how humbling growing your own food is. I don't know if you have a vegetable garden, but we have grown a lot of our vegetables in Thailand, and that was usually pretty successful. But here in the Netherlands, it's actually been a little more of a challenge, because a lot of the things that we try to grow are not as successful as we're used to it. So it's also very humbling understanding, like, hey, what is happening? What do we need to change? What do we need to shift? Because the environment has changed, or actually, we have moved. We have moved to a different environment. So it is really up to us to update our navigation, to be guided by nature, to be guided by the things that are around us and the things that are within us. And that is really important to do, because next year we still are going to have some intense moments. And when you focus on right now setting up the right practices, making sure that you stay grounded, especially during this Taurus full moon lunar eclipse, is very important that you have a practice that keeps you grounded. Taurus likes to experience the world through its senses. Next year, the Taurus energy continues to be very important. So this is really like the initiation into next year. And when I mean living through your senses, is really literally using all 5 of your senses. If you feel overwhelmed, or actually even before that, because this is about setting up a baseline. When you go outside, you feel the wind on your skin. You breathe in and smell the fresh air. You hear the wind blowing through the branches. And you see nature shifting into rest mode. And when you bite into a fresh apple from the tree, that instantly sets your body on fire. It really brings you into the moment, because you cannot think about anything else than in the moment. And that becomes a very important practice for next year as well, to turn on all of your senses. Experience the world, not just one-dimensional, but through all 5 senses. And when you've set up this baseline, when the storm hits again, and it's not a matter of if, but it is a matter of when the storm hits again, you will be able to stay grounded. Because mostly what happens is when the storm hits, we literally forget everything and we switch to survival mode, which makes a lot of sense. Because our body just takes over, our lizard brain takes over. It's like, no, we need to survive now. But in order for you to survive, you actually need to come back to the practices that you usually just push to the side and forget. Because we have a strong Neptunian energy next year, as well as Jupiter joining Neptune in Pisces, it can feel very foggy. And when there is fog, there's disillusion. Because you don't really know what's ahead of you. And you can't really trust your senses that much. Because you don't see that much. But this is an opportunity to go within and then take one step at a time, one step at a time. And then once the fog is going to clear, you actually have the tools to keep going into your direction. Because we are so dependent on what the outside structures are providing for us that we kind of forget that we already know. The astrology is so powerful because it allows you to get into the deeper layers. Because for everybody, this is going to play out differently. It is going to affect a different location in your birth chart. It's going to hit a different area of your life. And when you know that, you're able to consciously direct your energy. This is not about ignoring it. This is not about bypassing it, but it is consciously knowing what is going on and then shifting your attention. And I told you this was going to be a short and sweet episode, so I'm going to wrap up here. And I want you to remember this time that we're in right now, between the two eclipses, it is your opportunity to shed the things, the parts of yourself that are no longer going to propel you forward. Get ready to reinvent yourself. Get ready to change your mind. Get ready to come out on the other side differently. Now, it doesn't mean that when it's December 5th, when we had all the eclipses, you're going to be a completely different person right away. Like the snap of a finger, it's done. But it starts the initiation. And because eclipse season is acceleration, allow yourself to go through that acceleration. And that might be actually very exhausting. So take enough time to rest. Take enough time to get the information, the downloads, the insights. Because if you pack your days with lots of activities, you don't have the time to actually integrate all of that and work with that energy. So over the next 2 weeks, create space for yourself, create space for your business, and create the opportunities for change to happen, for the change to initiate. And that needs a little bit of conscious effort, but I know you are ready to change. I know you are ready for your business to stand for something. I know that you know your business is able to change the lives of so many more people on such a deep level, but you have to make that commitment. You have to make that decision. And it is a really good time right now to make that decision, to make that declaration, and to say, this is what I stand for. And this is what I no longer allow in my business. I want you to think about this as well. What are the things that you are declaring in this time to stand up for in your business, to stand up for as a person? Because really, the world needs to change. The world needs this new version. We are in the birth canal, and we can all decide what it's going to look like for you and your business and the impact that your business is making. Take a moment to consider that. Take a moment to think about that. And I'd love to hear from you. What are your insights? What are the things that you leave behind? You can tag me on Instagram at Patricia Panassi, or you can send me a DM, because I'd love to hear your insight, and I'd love to hear what is going on for you, what comes up, and also how you're working with that. That was it for this episode. Talk to you next time.